Right. Well, I wouldn't mind going first. Yeah, I it'd be fine if it doesn't matter to you. All right. Some time ago, I read a story about a man who had been invited with his friends. He was using a rope, and it was only the second time that he'd ever been on a mountain, and he was feeling scared to begin with. And then he got up about third way up the face of the wall. I absolutely see no other handhold or foothold, and he was starting to panic. And the smooth expanse of rock above him. And he looked to the side, and he could see a little hand in a handhold off to the side, and so he moved his hand and moved off. And then from that perspective, he was able, and all of a sudden this path opened up to him of ways that he could easily climb up to the top of the rock. I wonder what that story possibly has to do with our practicum workshop and the concepts that we're learning. But to me, this practicum project feels like this huge mountain in front of us that we need to scale. When we establish a target of a family life education program, we know that we have to start with a vision. And that vision is like the top of that rock for that mountain climber. You can see that they have to be lofty, and we can see where we're going, but we need to know the program should accomplish and what should be the end result, just like that climber knew that his end result was to get to the top without falling and breaking his neck. And then after that, the next step is to determine progress. And so those are like the individual handholds and footholds that get us to the top of the mountain once we know what goals are and where we're headed. But that's still scary because it's stuck sometimes and can't quite see our way to the top and see how it's all going to fit together and help us reach our goals and what it is that we want our participants to learn. So in the program goal stage, we need to take to a more specific level and come up with goals that are measurable and instructional activities that match up with the program vision. What action or knowledge should a student acquire attending the class? And when I was working on my workshop for Don't Stress for Teen Girls, one of those ideas that I came up with that was like a handhold and a foothold was to remind the girls of the steps for stress relief when they felt under stress. So the B stands for breathe, R is for relax muscles, A is for self, and T is for tap. And so those were part of the goals for the girls to understand those that I explained during the workshop and talked about. Now, in Bronfenbrennen's ecological theory, he talks a lot about the bidirectional effects of parenting and of the influence of the environment on the child. That is to say that parents impact their children by their parenting choices and impact their parents by their individual temperaments and the actions that they choose. And just that, our programs are affected by the participants. I found as I was giving my workshop, first activity that I had as kind of an icebreaker was called Guess My Stress, where everybody wrote down their greatest stress on a Post-it and hid it somewhere, and then other people had to ask 5 yes or no questions to see if they could guess what their really specific stress was. And I had a whole different idea in mind about how it was going to work and how it was going to look. But as it progressed, the group came up with their own idea about how to make it work. And it turned out to be more of the group asking individuals in the group questions of kind of a one-on-one as I had imagined. But that's an example of how there was a bidirectional impact. Some of the aspects of the workshop. And also, one thing that surprised me was during the section on tapping, which was tapping in terms of the emotional freedom technique, I wasn't planning at all in going through a segment of that, but as I started explaining it, I was so fascinated and really wanted me to do it, and every single person joined in with following me as I taught them how to do the emotional freedom technique. So it was just interesting to me that all of these different ways at the top of the mountain, that when the mountain climber or the rock climber decided that he was going to take off, he thought he was going to take one particular route. But then as he got involved in it, that he saw that there were different adjustments that he needed to get to the top successfully. So if we know, though, that true will get us to the top, and that our goals can be reached and our objectives and can be reached and be disseminated to those that we teach, then knowing that can evidence to take off and climb that rock. Okay, and so that's the end.
Cool. You did a good job.
Thank you.
So I'll ask a question.
Okay.
So were you preparing at all to think about sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear you.
Oh, you're fine. I was just asking, did you prepare yourself in your mind that you might go off on a tangent because of where the class leads you, or were you just kind of sticking to the lesson and then you planned the lesson and that's what you were going to teach? Were you expecting to go off tangent at all during your?
No, well, I was open to it because I kind of came there with the attitude that I was going to let the needs of the young women really make some of those kind of decisions. Mm-hmm. And so when they wanted to do the Guess My Stress, when it into something different, I just went ahead and let them do it that way, and it turned out great. So it was really better the way that they ended up doing it than what I had envisioned. And then with the emotional freedom technique, I just thought, oh, they're not going to want to do this. Do you know what that is? Have you seen the kind of tapping? So you even though I'm feeling really stressed and discouraged and this is I'm going to have a hard time with this practicum, I still deeply love and appreciate myself. So you do that, and then you tap all these different pressure points and say something different. Like first you go through all the pressure points, tapping on them, say just all the things that you're upset about, and just let it all out, everything that's worrying you. And then and you start to say, well, maybe I could do this. I've had these experiences and maybe it will turn out okay. And then the very final one can do this. I can handle this. And as I just showed them on top of the head, for example, because that's a really quick stress reliever, is just to tap on the top of your head on the acupressure point. But they were fascinated. So I thought, okay, well, if they want to know more, then I'll show them more. And as I was doing it with me, they were really getting into it. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to take more time than I was planning on and do the whole sequence with them. So there were a few things like that where I thought, okay, this question didn't go over like, and this question was really engaged the girls. And so I think it's important to go with what your group is going with, if they're heading you in the right direction. So I don't know.
That's really cool. No, that's really neat. Because I'm planning to be like more open and like not by the book or anything, but I'm kind of just nervous with if they want to go into something that I might not know a lot about, or one of the weaker subjects that I am not as familiar with. But that's just my kind of thinking. Like, I'm open to it, but maybe I can open up to group discussion. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
So,
that's always a good technique to say,
yeah.
well, what has been your experience with it to the rest of the group, and then maybe that'll buy you a little bit of time, and something will ring a bell and click to something that you remember learning, and
That's true.
can pass that along. So
I love it when that happens.
but yeah.
You did a great job. I guess I will do mine. It was funny because
Okay,
we
good.
both talked about vision and goals,
Oh, okay.
so I just did a different spin on it.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
So the first thing I'm going to ask is, what do goals do for us? Are they to help us focus and keep us on track to get something done? Are they supposed to motivate us to finish something we're supposed to accomplish? Are they here to help us keep our eyes on the prize? And with those, what kind of goals do we set for ourselves? Do we set personal goals with weight and exercise, with our schoolwork and work? Do we have family goals that include our children, our spouses, our pets, and our home? Do we have goals for bills and money? Do we want to get debt free? Do we have loans that we need to pay off that we have a goal to finish that by? Or do we have a mortgage to pay? All of these goals, or maybe future goals that you can set for yourself, can be considered short-term goals or long-term goals. And it really depends on when and how fast you want to get these things done. Author Martha Alderson said that goals define the plot. I wanted to relate this to our own lives, and I wanted to say that goals will help us define where our lives need to go and where they need to be. Also, she said that goals give definition to the situation. I think this was really cool because she is talking about books, and there's a lot of plots in books, and obviously there's a goal that the main character has, but we can give definition in our lives by the goals we set. While studying marriage and family, and perhaps looking forward to working with individuals, couples, and families, we can create a vision or goals to help us work better with these groups of people. Hopefully most, if not all, families are looking to be functional and working. Many times this may not be the case, and these individuals and families look for help from someone who can help them see their bigger picture. Providing goals in families can really help them establish a more happy and successful way of living. So in my helping relationship class that I took a few semesters ago, we were taught to talk the helpies through their thoughts and feelings. Once they realized that they had a problem they wanted to fix, giving them things to work on, or helping them create goals that they could handle was ideal. But it's important to remember that if the helpee doesn't understand that they have a problem, or they don't see that there's a problem that they need to fix, or if they're completely oblivious to the way they've been acting, giving them goals and things to work on won't help them because they don't know what they're trying to fix. If a helpee doesn't come with their come up with their own goals to work on, they're probably not going to remember or work on them since they haven't created a bond to that goal and haven't made it personal or sincere. We also learned that as the helper, we must show that the goals will help and are needed. But we need to allow the helpee or family to make the goals for themselves because, like I said, they're not going to have that bond with that goal since they didn't create it themselves, or if it wasn't something that they could understand that they can handle and take on. And as the helper to these helpies or families, we just need to follow up with the goals and encourage them to do it. We need to encourage them to continue accomplishing goals, and after accomplishing their goals, that we need to help them create more. And this doesn't mean that we're going to sit down and tell them that they need to water the plant every day. We're going to tell them, okay, since you did that goal and you kept your plant alive, what's your next goal? Are you going to get another plant, or do you want to make a bigger plant? And so we need to introduce ideas, but we can't give those goals to them without them creating it. So it needs to be their idea because then it's in their mind that they might do it. We were introduced to the LFI, which means levels of family involvement. And it also was compared to the FLE that we've been studying about all semester. Levels of family involvement means that the term parent and family education refers to activities, whether one-to-one or in groups, designed to enhance the competence of parents, couples, or other family members in the parenting or co-parenting roles. So it's a little bit different from FLE, but it's close. In the LFI, they have levels that can provide opportunities for parents, couples, and other family members to create goals with one another. I thought this was interesting because it's not necessarily a therapy that they go to, but it's an opportunity where they can figure out that they can create goals with one another to have a better lifestyle and relationship with their family members and with themselves. We should remember that although we are trying to help individuals and families have a better lifestyle, we should refrain from covering areas that require further schooling or licenses. They made it pretty distinct that it should be more educational and not clinical, because we can definitely get in trouble if we start practicing things that we aren't allowed to be practicing. Doherty warned educators to understand when and when not to push a conversation or lesson to a point where it gets emotionally driven. And so this can easily fall under a clinical emphasis of a meeting instead of just an educational based. And along with that, we need to understand the code of ethics and how that should be followed. When we are practicing clinically without the permission and the license, then we probably aren't necessarily following the code of ethics, and that could be pretty bad if gets caught, or it can even be damaging to the people that you're talking to. So I just have a question to end it, and it's, what are some goals that you can think of that you can set for yourself just for more hands-on like practice with the goals and stuff. So basically, like, we talk about how we are supposed to help influence people creating goals for themselves, but can we set our own goals so we know what it's like and we know what we're asking our helpies to do. So
Well, that, what class was that you took? I really enjoyed your about goal setting.
it was helping relationship.
What class? It was, say it one more time.
Helping relationship. It was
Helping relationship.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't have to take this, so it
Oh,
sounds
really?
really good. So that's,
It's
yeah,
an
so
awesome
that's new
class.
to me.
It's
Helping
a really cool
relationship.
class. If you could take it, then I would really suggest it because a lot of the semester we practiced with our classmates and we told each other like things that were upsetting in our lives, but nothing too personal. It was more on just a
Mhm.
friendly basis. But we talked about how different ways to approach and what we need to do. Like questions are really great, but closed-ended questions are horrible. So you have to figure out like how to ask an open-ended question. And
Mhm.
if you do ask a closed-ended question, this can lead to false ideas and answers from the helpie. So you basically are pushing them into a corner. And so we learned a lot about how to talk and help our helpies being the helper. And so it was really cool. And we learned a bunch of different ways how to just communicate, but
Mm.
not like get personal, if that makes sense.
Right. Which is, it sounds like that really prepared you to understand the boundaries that they're talking about in this class.
Yeah, so
Okay, so I really wondered about that. Huh.
yeah, it's helping relationship, and
Hmm.
it was a tough semester, but it was really, looking back on it now, I'm really glad that I was able to take that and experience it. So yeah, if you can
All right,
take
well,
it.
that's good to know. Because what I was thinking is that when do I ever say, all right, what goals have come to you? For example, at the end of the workshop, and I still have another chance to do it.
Mhm.
But at the end of the workshop, to have everybody think for a moment, which of what we've talked about, what do you think? I mean, I did put that in my my assessment. What of all the
Mhm.
things did we learn do you think will be most helpful, and will
Yeah.
you actually implement in your life? But to ask them, what goal can you make that will help you deal with stress? Oh, that is excellent.
Yeah,
That is excellent to have them think of a goal and then to set it.
yeah, because I find it
Wow.
like just in our I know that being up in Rexburg, we were always challenged to do something, and challenges were always great, but were they really are they really meant anything if they're not followed up with? So if your teacher talks about it and says, "Hey, did you I challenge you to do this," but then doesn't ask you about it, is it really that kind of a bigger thing, or does it really mean that much to the person who asked it if they're not willing to follow up? Or if someone challenges you to do something, you're like, that's not possible. I don't have the resources to do that. It's not something that you're gonna do. And so
Right.
you can't really personalize every single thing to fit everyone else. And so I just really liked the idea of you can't choose somebody else's goals because
Right.
you don't know what they're capable of doing. And if you overshoot it, they're gonna feel like they're a failure. And if you undershoot it, then it's not much of a challenge for them to grow. And
Right.
so
Okay. Well, that was really enlightening, and I'm going to continue to think about that because, I know we're supposed to end with an action item. I know we're supposed to end with that. What are you going to take this information? But I don't know. I don't think it just doesn't sound, that's not anything I've ever done, is to say, what specifically are you going to do? I guess there have been times at the end of a release said, what has the Spirit prompted you to do? Because I know that sometimes in church, the Spirit will prompt me to do certain things, and that it helps if someone reminds me to focus on it. So, but anyway, that's great. Thank you.
Well, also, like, another thing, just real quick, I know, like, when I was a young woman, when someone asked me what my goals would be, I didn't really have any. So I think that giving examples of some could really help them out figure what they can do. So, I mean, obviously with stress, like, if you get stressed, maybe a goal for you could be tapping yourself on the head and getting that pressure point on your head, or finding that one pressure point that you really can remember to do. And when you get stressed, maybe your goal is to go to that one and recite what you taught. And so I think examples are really great, but telling them, like, I challenge you to, like, count to 10 when you're stressed. I think that's more like, if you don't take anything, take this. But if you allow them to take something from your lesson, I think making a goal for them, for themselves, is something good. So don't be afraid to
All right. Well,
give examples. But.
Right. Well, so I guess what I was thinking is that whole thing, because I put that, don't must be a brat, and then I wrote that out and I put that on the back of a ruler. So I thought that way they can take that and have those right in front of them and think about. But I didn't really, I guess it was just more implied. Here are the tools that you can choose from.
Of course.
But
it's definitely a great reminder.
Helping them think, like, which at the end of the lesson, because that was another thing that I'm really, because we ended with a video and it ended there, and I don't know. I'm going to kind of try to rework the ending a little bit and think about really that whole setting goal, and maybe before the video, I'll have to think about it. But anyway, you just kind of opened my mind up to, I needed to do that, and so I will.
I'm glad.
Okay. Well, thank you. And there's anything else we need to do? That's probably it, huh?
I think so. I can post this to the board. And then
okay. And
can wait for Jenny's.
So you know where anyone with the link can open it? Did you mark it like that? Did you mark it not private?
I'm pretty sure it's public right now. So
public. Well, I don't know if we want it. I don't think we want it public either, do we?
Well,
can't we have it? I think it can be. I think it can, that you can share it with anyone that has, just anyone who has a link can open it. But yeah.
Because last time I put the link, but it was private, and Sister Openshaw wasn't able to get into it, so I had to go and make it public. So I'll try to figure out if we can keep it more private, but I'm not too sure how to do that.
So it doesn't give you another. It doesn't give you another option of private, but anyone with a link that you can share it. So you go to private and it gives you a way to share it, and it says anyone with a link can open it.
I'm not too sure. Let me see. Not too sure right now, but I can definitely look into it and see if I can close it.
Well, I'm looking at some of, I just think, I don't know if I want all that stuff all over the internet.
No, I definitely understand. I definitely understand.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for recording that. I
Of
appreciate
course.
it. And I'll see you again soon.
All right.
Okay.
Good job. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.